All we did was differ with them economically, and Trump tried to turn them into a state. He said, I called him Governor Trudeau. First I was just joking, then a lot of people told me it was a good idea. Yeah, I think that single-handedly ruined Canada.
Joe Rogan goes on to make the claim that Pierre Poilievre lost the election because of Donald Trump. Let's get into the rest of this clip and if there's any truth to this claim. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Hit that like button on the way in. And if you're new here, my name's Clyde. The subscribe button is just down below. Help yourself. Let's get back into this clip. Joe Rogan making the claim that Pierre Poilievre lost this election because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump actually, Donald Trump did make a huge effect on Canada. And we're going to get into exactly what that was.
Yeah, that idea. I mean, that's the Republican Party or their version of the Conservative Party. They were on the way out. They were, and all of a sudden the whole country united because Trump's trying to turn them into a state.
Yeah, Poilievre has got to be angry about that, man.
He has to be so mad. He was logical and reasonable, and everybody's like, let's try that for a while.
Yeah. Do you know what? That was the ultimate block.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? You're in the bar. It's about to happen with the girl.
It's going down.
It's going down. You're like, oh, I'm so
Canada's back.
Yeah, I'm so gonna get laid. Trump pops up, whispers something in her ear, and all of a sudden it's fucking over.
Yeah. All we did.
It was over. It was over. But the question is, was that the effect of Donald Trump on Pierre Poilievre, or was that on Canada as a whole? Canada, of course, because of this, contracted Trump derangement syndrome. This is a syndrome that's been happening in the United States for a long time, and Canada contracted it. In fact, I've put out a shirt. I wanted to put this out there. TDS, find a cure. We need to spread awareness on this whole thing, but I digress on that. Let's get into the story here. Toronto Sun writing an article saying Joe Rogan says Trump ruined Canada by helping Mark Carney win. And we get this traditional political punditry from Brian Lilly, who writes for the Toronto Sun. And we're going to get into his opinion, but then also break it down. How does this actually work? Let's get into it.
Yes, it's absolutely true. Joe Rogan reached out to Pierre Poilievre's campaign. He wasn't the only major American media outlet or personality to reach out and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you. Well, here's the reality. Pierre Poilievre turned them all down. Here's Rogan talking about this on his podcast on Tuesday.
I offered to have that Pierre guy come on the podcast.
Really?
He didn't do it. Wouldn't do it. Thought it was too problematic. Or whatever. Jordan told me, I forget what he said, but they were telling him not to do it. Like his advisors were telling him not to do it. Hey, dumbass.
If they can't talk to you and have a conversation hold up, you're not grilling people, you're not attacking people.
Of course not.
This is like a safe, the friend zone type thing.
Okay, here are some other people that I can tell you from personal knowledge and experience that reached out to Pierre Poilievre and his team and said, we would like to have you on. Ben Shapiro.
Personal knowledge and experience. So this goes along with the notion in Canada that basically the media is a portion of the political apparatus. This is how it works in Canada. Only political insiders actually work for the media apparatus, whether it's on the left or the right. So these people they're on the dial. They're on Brian Lilly, obviously, in previous times when there was controversies with the Pierre Poilievre campaign, he was the one who came out and spoke on their behalf. Like he actually came out and spoke on their behalf to this, to other news agencies. So yes, this is very well connected. So I actually throw some trust at this. But what he's saying here is absolutely accurate.
Reached out. Ben not only reached out directly to Pierre Poilievre, he asked me, can you help me get him on? Glenn Beck's team wanted him on. Fox News wanted him on. The Nelk Boys, which is a Canadian-originated podcast, the Full Send podcast, started in Mississauga. It's Canadian and American now. It's got a huge audience. They also asked him on.
And this was something I was actually pointing out for a good chunk of the portion of the campaign. I said, why are you not reaching out to people like the Nelk Boys, get on the Full Said podcast, and get out there, get your voice out there to encourage young people to vote? And we're going to get into that because here Brian Lilly makes some claims that I don't think are accurate, but we'll bring in some evidence for that.
Why didn't Polyev go on that? Well, initially it was because they were so far ahead, they didn't need to do podcasts like that. They didn't need to do anything. They were having a 15 to 20 point lead.
And that's accurate. That's absolutely accurate. The polling data was suggesting that they're fully on in the lead. Why not do that? But why would you turn down a chance to lead even more? It's one of those what are you doing cases. Why would you want to not lead by more? But whatever. This is the excuse coming out after the fact when hindsight's 2020. You don't need to campaign. Just stay where you are and you'll just do fine. What else does he say here?
And then when things changed, well, going on American podcasts, that may have driven away some voters.
Driven away some voters. We had liberals going on American TV shows and podcasts. It didn't drive away voters. Actually, they got a lot more voters. The turnout was actually in favor of the liberals, as we saw the results.
Conservatives were not lacking in young men looking to vote for them, but they were lacking in voters 55 plus, 60 plus, who had originally been with the Conservatives and were now looking at the Liberals or had moved over to Carney's camp completely. Why? They were afraid of Donald Trump. So the whole calculus changed. Before, you didn't need them, and yeah, sure, there would have been some risk going with an American media outlet. Not that it hurt Mark Carney.
As I just said. So the claim here is that the young people were already voting for Pierre, so you didn't need to get them to, I don't know, come out to vote. So, and this is actually absolutely accurate. Here you go. Antonio tweets, says, Canadians by age, who would they vote for if an election were held today? And it's overwhelmingly young people would vote Conservative. This is because of obvious reasons. You know, the economy, affording things, the cost of living has gone through the roof. And this is the thing. 60 plus boomers overwhelmingly voting Liberal, and that's because of the TDS and because don't cut off my pension, don't cut off all the entitlements that I have over all this time. And they watch more CBC. Let's just be honest with that. They watch more CBC. Now, this is where we get into the weeds, because is there evidence that the young people were actually coming out in droves to vote for Pierre Poilievre? Well, not really, actually. In fact, this was the whole point where a lot of people, myself included, were saying, get out there on these podcasts where people are young and watching and will support you. Get out there, because it would encourage them to actually go to the polls. Now, if you look at the polls from the last election, because Brian Lilley is making some claims about who was out and who was voting, that data doesn't exist yet. So we have to only look at what is out there and then what can be speculated about the next election. So this was the voter age turnout for the 2021 general election. Yeah, it was boomers that came out the most. It came out the most. And why would you, if they've already been propagandized and they're going in that direction anyway, there's nothing you can do to convince them. But the people who would come out and vote for you that are not convinced on CBC's rhetoric and propaganda, perhaps you might want to get them to come out and turn out. But instead, that wasn't the case. In fact, official statistics on the breakdown for 2025's federal election, voter turnout by age demographic is not yet available from Election Canada. A report with this specific data is expected to be published next year. This is where we go. This is the general direction of it. There was an overall turnout increase. The voter turnout for 2025 election was approximately 69.5%, an increase from 62% in 2021. Advanced polls, there was a huge amount of people voting pre-voting. So what demographic is this from? Can't really tell. But 25% increase in people voting with mail-in voting. Yeah, that one sounds a little fishy, to be honest, in my opinion. But this is where we're at. So there's no indication that young people came out in droves, but in here it says leading up to the 2025 election, some experts, advocates believe that turnout among young people would increase due to high engagement with issues like affordability and housing. The fact that Gen Z and millennials now make up a larger electoral majority than baby boomers. Some polling also indicated that young men in particular were a growing base for the Conservative Party, suggesting potential engagement. But then that actually turns into, well, how many young men were coming out versus how many young women? The propaganda was working very, very well at the time. How young men are changing what conservatism looks like in Canada. Gen Z is heading in the opposite direction politically. Women turning left while men go right. So how many women showed up because of the CBC propaganda of Donald Trump bad, Orange Man bad, and how many men actually came out, maybe took the day off of work because you can in Canada, you can absolutely go out to the polling stations and cast your ballot. Your job can't stop you, but how many did? How many actually went out and did that? This is the question. But there was a lot of women that also went out in the younger age demographics, but they could have changed that perhaps by going on podcasts. I don't know. I just threw that one out there. Now, Pierre, you might say, Pierre had a ton of rallies. There was a bunch of young people at those rallies. Was there? Because every time I go and I look at the demographics of the people that were at these rallies, they were all in the older age demographics. They were all in the older age groups. I didn't see a ton of youth votes. If you see a lot of youth voters, if you went to the rallies, you'd see there was a lot more people in older millennial generations, Gen Xers, boomers, that kind of demographic. And this is great because I'm glad people went out and showed the lineups of people. Yes, these rallies were massive turnouts, but these rallies were voters that were already voting for Pierre. They were already enthusiastic. His camp wasn't reaching out to new voters. In fact, this is one of the big criticisms from a lot of people, especially PBD podcast, the Valuetainment Crew. We're talking about this for some time, and not only that Pierre wasn't reaching out to these places, he was actively turning them down, and actually in such a way that it was insulting for the people that were reaching out to give him a bone.
Booker Tony, sweet. He deals with a lot of different. He loves the camera. Okay, this guy
he definitely does.
He deals with a lot of people that come. How nice is Tony?
Tony's one of the best people I know.
Pierre Poilievre's camp hung up on him twice.
Like literally, just like no
hung
click.
up on him twice, and that's never ever happened. So then I'm sitting there thinking my guy's the one who screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Then John Shahidi says he tried to book Theo Von and Nelk. They said no. Then Kyle from Nelk Boys. Can you go to Kyle's Instagram X account?
Kyle Forgard.
Kyle Forgard on X. Watch this. He shows the DM. This is how embarrassing it is. Go a little bit lower. Go up there and see if they show the DM. What is this? Actually, then go to Full Send's X account.
Because he's Canadian.
But just go down, Rob.
Right?
It's right
Kyle?
there. You just had it. Right there. Click on that and go to their account, Nelk Boys. Go to their account and go down and see what they show. Go right there. Check this out. Kyle, can I just go back out, Rob?
Yeah.
If you could, right there. Yes, please. So watch what it says. Kyle Forgard from Nelk Boys shared DMs attempting to collaborate with Pierre Poilievre in 2022. Wow. Click on it, Rob. Watch this. Okay, Canadians, this is your candidate. Pierre, we have the most popular podcast on YouTube. Wow. We've had Donald Trump and Elon Musk on. We should have you on. I am from Mississauga, and our presence amongst 18 to 30-year-old Canadians massive. Never responds back.
Wow.
Think about this. Kyle is loved. Kyle is liked. Kyle is a likable guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Then Chris Pavlovsky here says, I try to arrange, this is a founder of a Rumble.
Rumble.
I tried to arrange Pierre Poilievre to meet with Donald Trump Jr. at a Rumble event in Toronto last year. While the Liberals attacked and illegally attempted to shut down our event, Pierre Poilievre refused to even engage to meet Don Jr. This is not what winners are made of. Wow. What does Don Jr. do? Retweets it and says, true story. This is your candidate. And you guys were afraid to hold him accountable. It's what you call a coward. You're afraid to meet? What do you mean you're afraid to meet? This is what happens. when you get a candidate like this that's not a change agent, your state suffers the consequences to a guy like Mark Carney and another guy that took his parliament seat. Rob, do me a favor. This is enough you posting these stories of Canada.
Okay, so that's the story there. And in fact, for a confirmation, this tweet exists. I tried to change Poilievre's, I tried to arrange Poilievre to meet with Donald Trump Jr. at a Rumble event last year. And they said no. They basically, and this is an insult to diplomacy. This is the opposite of diplomacy. But what was the point of this? It was to distance themselves from the Trump campaign so that they could seem a little bit more elbows up or whatever, or just try to distance themselves for anything that they could possibly be an issue going into the election. But we saw this across the board. We saw this across the board in Canada. In fact, in my own riding, the Conservative candidate didn't even show up for the debates. Didn't even show up. It's crazy, but this was the election strategy of the Conservatives in the last election, and you wonder why they lost. And now we're going into a time where we had a Conservative cross the floor and join the Liberals, and we have another announcement that another guy is quitting. He's resigning, and he's no longer going to be an MP, and they're going to call a by-election in Alberta for his position in Edmonton, where he only narrowly won against the Liberal candidate. So this is crazy to me. What's going on? What's happening with the Conservative Party in Canada? Is this really Donald Trump's fault, or is this the fault of the Conservative Party and the way they decide to run their politics? I'd love to leave this one with you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. We're going to probably talk about this more in the live stream tonight. Join me with Frank Vaughn tonight. We're going to be talking about this and other stories. So we'll see you all in the next one. Keep on trucking.